I've got the first question for you is actually kind of quite deep and profound. So it's jumping in the deep end, pun intended.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm not very good at swimming, but I'll try.
You what? Sorry.
I'm not very good at swimming, but I'll try.
Awesome.
Here, I am partially colorblind. I'm not very good at swimming. I'm the worst. All I can
feel
do
like
is
if
play
you
guitar.
run into one of those like lionfishes, you're just doomed. Like, is it friendly? Ow.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the first question is what has been what has been the most mentally taxing experience of your music career, and how did you get through that experience? How's your swimming now?
Mentally taxing experience in my music career.
Well, let's maybe. I mean, we can expand it to. It can be anything. Let's kind of. It doesn't have to be specifically music career, but
I've got some pretty boring examples. Unfortunately, figuring out how to do band taxes is very mentally exhausting. Figuring out how to do proper tour accounting is mentally exhausting. Figuring out contracts and working with entertainment lawyers is very exhausting. I would say maybe more not more fun, but more to a creative side is staying in a studio, a retreat style recording experience that we do for 6 weeks at a time is mentally exhausting because you live somewhere else. So you stay. We go to a very amazing producer it was just his birthday recently. Dave Otero, happy birthday, Dave Otero. And he lives in Denver and we live in Vancouver. So, that's a flight. It's not a drivable thing it is, but we always fly there. And so you're there for 6 weeks and all you do is focus on the album. And so because we take so long to write, we usually take this last album, we took about 2.5 years to write. We are already so deep into the writing and the album itself that then you go and we've already recorded it twice before. We do the pre-production, the demos, we record everything and then we re-record it and then we edit it and then we re-record it. We do multiple takes of everything, multiple different versions. And so that when you actually go into the studio, it's stuff that you've already recorded so many times and it really well, but then it changes and you have to make decisions on the fly. And that stuff is very mentally exhausting.
Yeah, I know that kind of feeling. It's like, we've definitely had it where there's a riff and it's like, oh, that one little note just doesn't work. Or like that little chord that you throw in somewhere. And then suddenly changing that one thing, it's like more than the sum of the parts. And you feel like you're replaying like a whole new thing. How do you kind of get? So I mean, I suppose the second half was how do you get through that? How do you battle through it?
You just have to think about the end product because every day you're getting a new bounce of the small thing that you recorded that day, and that's very nice. And so you see the progress, but it's Monday to Friday 9 to 5. So you can't get that much done, especially if you're doing the style of music that we do, where it's every riff is complex, technical, and it takes quite a while to record and get a good take. But you sort of just every day, week by week, you just see the incremental progress, and you sort of get hooked on that. So at night when you're thinking about what the next day is going to bring, you just try to distract yourself because you know that the end product is going to be so cool. But man, we call it music prison. Music prison is what we call it.
It's really very inspiring.
It's a really good experience, but man, in the moment when you're deep in it, it sucks. It sucks. But
do you come out of music prison as a different person?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've all known each other for so long. We've been in a band for 13 years. So now, we sort of know what to expect from each other, when it comes to arguments or tension or whatever in the writing process. So you sort of, I don't know if it changes you too much, but man, it's very rewarding, and it feels like, I'm never going to give, well, maybe I'll give birth. I don't know, one day. We'll see. Marvels of science. But I mean, it feels like that kind of thing. You're just pushing and pushing and pushing, and the whole, and even when you're done, you go home, it's still not done for another 3 months. And
The
so
baby,
the baby, yeah, yeah, the baby, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, to be fair, music babies are probably easier to handle afterwards.
I would say, yeah. I would say
it's a close one.
You immediately start making money from it, which is very nice.
Yeah,
not a lot of money because we're all we're playing extreme death metal, but
we've had different
money,
babies because mine don't make any money.
when you have a bit of money coming from your music baby, then it's very nice, and so you can pay your rent. You know, so babies don't generally tend to pay your rent until they're old enough to star in movies, or I don't know what kind of baby anybody is listening has, but weird way to go. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it's the whole point of this is to inspire, and there we go. I'm sure someone was inspired by that.
I doubt it.
So, I mean, you were saying about sort of tension in the or sort of dealing with arguments and tension and stuff, and without me asking any sort of what personally happens between band members, how do you kind of deal with moments of tension and stuff? Do you feel like you've kind of got better at that over the years? Do you still have moments of like butting heads and trying to figure stuff out, or how's that kind of working now?
We have not gotten better at it. It is just as hard to write music, if not harder now than it was when we first started. It's definitely harder now. Like, because we're 4 albums deep, so now the goal isn't just to not be derivative of other bands, it's also to not be derivative of yourself. So when you're 4 albums deep, you're writing the second last song on an album, and you're like, hey, this riff is great, and everybody loves it, and then the next day you go into the rehearsal space and they're like, I realize that's just the intro riff of the song that we had 2 albums ago, and nobody thought about it, and that's why we liked it, because it's like the same fucking thing. So you're like, oh, so there's a lot more obstacles to steer, and you understand, there's a lot of built up years of finding out what other people don't like. This guy really doesn't like that type of drum beat. This guy really doesn't like that type of guitar riff. Those things you have to navigate. You might like them, but you know that they don't like them. And so you have to navigate putting the stuff that you like without hitting the stuff that they don't like. So now you have more obstacles. And yeah, I mean, like, we're still really tight as a unit. And I think that's why we've been relatively successful as a band, because we all make decisions together, which is super important. I was talking to somebody the other day about going through bands that just like imagine, hey, what does this band do? How do they do their business, and how do they run their band, and does it work for them? And you watch a lot of bands that have just like one sole member that writes, and a lot of people that sort of just play the stuff that they've written, and it is hard for that to be. It's hard to maintain that, as far as I can tell. I think that the secret weapon that we have is all 5 of us write together in a room. Almost every part is written in a room in our jam space. We make all of our band decisions ourselves across all 5 of us. Each one of us acts as a filter for bad ideas. Everybody looks at each other like, okay, if that person doesn't want to do it, then we don't do it. And it's really important that you keep that in the band mentality. And I think it's just nearly impossible to find 5 people that are able to make that work. But yeah, that's the big thing. That's the main way that we've been able to deal with tension and navigating business stuff and navigating people that might want to take advantage of you, or ideas that you have that somebody's like, you know what, that idea kind of sucks, and you're like, I would have never thought that it did. I thought it was great. And you look back, you're like, that idea did suck, but just for some reason you're just in it and you just can't see it.
Yeah. I found like being in a band as being like the biggest, in a good way, the biggest like ego killing experiment. And I mean in the way that it sort of, you have to squash your ego, because like the amount of times we're in the studio and I'll just be clinging onto a part like, oh, come on, and then we take it out. I'm like, okay, fine, yeah, fair enough. It didn't need to be there.
Do you find
silly riff?
Do you find that getting rid of riffs is the best feeling ever, though?
I'd love to be really mature and say yes.
Getting rid of stuff and quitting things and stopping doing things and say that stuff is so empowering and awesome. And when you get rid of a riff and you've been struggling for a week or two to put it in, and somebody says, "Let's get rid of it, let's scrap it," you go, "Oh my god," a weight off your shoulders, and then you figure out something else.
Yeah. I kind of know what you mean when you like when you feel like you're forcing it. It's it's kind of I have had a couple of things where, and sometimes it's even that you're just forcing the wrong way of looking at it, and it's just someone says, "Okay, let's not do it like that. Let's just do it another way." You're like, "Oh, thank God that wasn't going to work anyway." I don't know why. It's like lying to yourself, kind of. Yeah, especially when you think this. I think the worst thing is, and this is, I'd be interested to hear what you think on this. I think a lot of people like guitar. I think it's a guitarist thing. It probably is in a lot of other instruments, but I hear it a lot in metal guitar where people sort of quote unquote riff will be like a cool motif, like a cool little melody, and then it'll just be kind of, that will be the riff, and then the next like few beats will just be bum 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 bum, or like a rounder, a sort of rounder off after the little melody. So the riff is just kind of a couple of cool notes, and you like keep doing that, but then the riff just goes into blah blah blah. And I find that quite often, I think maybe people don't always finish ideas, and sometimes I feel like the ones where I'm trying to force the idea is where I've got a cool bit and just kind of in my head I think I've gone, that's enough, and then just added loads of like random chords on the end or something without actually going, that idea was cool, but it needed to sort of blossom and be a riff in itself. I have no idea how I've just been going on about.
I think I know what you're talking about, but the thing is, like, if you think about it, like you said earlier, that was that one note when you're changing in the recording studio and it makes the whole thing better. I mean, every single pitch, every single thing in a riff is important. Every single thing in a solo is important. And I think about it, I don't know how music theory savvy you are.
Hit me, I'll find out.
Okay. Using voice leading to sort of imagine that you're taking the audience's expectations and you want to give them an equation that they can add up together. So they talk about good filmmaking is 2 + 2, right? So you give someone the equation and they do it themselves. Rather than giving them 4, you give them 2 + 2. So it's something just for them to figure out. And whether that thing is hitting, going over the bar line with a note that you might expect to finish the phrase, but you go over a bar line instead and you get the audience to figure it out in their heads, or you do something in 5s where it's close to 4, but the 5s just makes the audience go, okay, what is that? Okay, now I get it. And that like extra beat. And as long as the idea is sound and you get the audience to do the equation, then I think you have really memorable music. But you can't do that if you go, here's part of it, and then I'm just going to round everything out with a very kind of generic filler part. We have a rule in our band where no filler. We don't put any filler in our albums. And it means our albums are a lot shorter. And it means that we take a lot longer to write our albums. And it's a lot more stressful to do it. But no filler. So we don't put in an instrumental track. Not since we had an instrumental track, I think, on our first and our second albums, and that was as close as we got to filler. But I still thought that those were good ideas. But ever since the last 2, we're like, no filler songs. Every song should be a song front to back, and people should want to listen to that song. You know, when you put on an album and the intro of the album is like kind of like a spacey kind of build up, and
always annoys me.
Yeah.
What we want to do, loads of them.
yeah. What we want to do is give you exactly what you're looking for immediately.
Yeah.
And have you do 2 + 2, and then keep that going, keep the intensity up as much as we can until we know that the audience is going to be like, you know what, I'm tired of this, and then you give them reprieve. So just balancing the audience's expectations and sometimes exceeding them, going crazier than they think that you could go, and going more not chill, but like adding a lot more wide range of dynamics, so that the audience doesn't really know what to expect, but they know what to expect in a way. So you just have to like stretch their expectations just a bit, and so that they figure out for themselves, and then it gets stuck in their head, and then they want to see you live or buy an album or buy a T-shirt or whatever.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize why your babies make more money than mine. That makes total sense. Yeah. So
I was wearing I just got changed out of a Walmart T-shirt. I'm not doing that great, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've this is like I think this is Primark, which is like, I'm gonna guess the equivalent over here, pretty much clothes wise. Like,
yes.
Yeah. So it's yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's trying to avoiding filler is really difficult, because it's like, again, it's like you say, you've got to, obviously not everything you put out is perfect. You can be a great guitar player, but like you're not always gonna come up with good ideas. And trying to, if you found that, like, here's a good one, I guess. What is there any idea still there in your head that you've written that everyone else in the band has gone no, but you're like, no, please, I really want to use this? Have you got any of them lying around?
Yeah, for sure. I have a hard drive full of ideas that I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And when I show it to the other guys, oftentimes I'll bring an idea to the group, and I will know in my heart, I'm like, they will hate this. And I'm going to bring it anyway because no one else has any ideas that day, or I didn't have any ideas or whatever. And I'll show it to them at the very end. There's a really good example. Are you familiar with, I don't want to presume anything, but are you familiar with the newest album we just put out? It's called Bleed the Future.
I've listened. I mean, I've given you music a good listen. I'd have to you have to reference me a track, but
okay, that's cool. Yeah, no worries. So we have a song called Reverie on the Onyx, and It starts out with Mozart's Requiem, like a movement from Mozart's Requiem. The Lacrimosa movement, I think. So it's this idea that my wife and I actually had. So I was sitting, I was like, because she loves that piece, and I also love that piece, and I was like, man, it'd be cool if we could like transpose this for guitar, translate it onto the instrument of guitar and bass, two guitars and one bass. And so we sat here for like, I don't know, a couple of days, sort of transcribing it, and I don't think we transposed it from the original key, but we basically just like arranged it for a modern kind of group. And then I sat on it for like 3 months, and I was like, no one in the band is going to like this. All I did that for was just because I thought it was fun. I never had any expectation that I was going to put it in any or music or whatever, but I had like this thing in the back of my head. I'm like, I could show it to them, but I know they're going to hate it. And I brought it to the jam space one time, and the last part of the day, and I was like, I have one idea. I don't know if you guys are going to like it. I showed it to them, and everybody's like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. We should totally use that. I was like,
that's the best feeling.
What? Like, I still think that I got away with something. I still feel like I'm like, are you guys hearing it though? Like, are you sure you don't like dislike it like a lot? Because I almost convinced myself that I didn't like it because I thought that they weren't going to like it. You know what I mean? I thought it was great, but that kind of stuff where you have like those expectations, that stuff is, yeah. I mean, it's always good to sort of be vulnerable and show somebody, if you're in the right group and you have trust in the other members and everybody has the same vision, which is what we have. We all have the same vision. We want to be, the fastest technical death metal band in the world. That's our vision. We want to be the most extreme and but also have melody and also have catchiness and have hooks and be fun to go see live. And it's like, that's what we want. And so if everybody has the same sort of trust in each other and everybody has the same sort of expectations and goals, then you can be a bit vulnerable and be like, here's this riff I wrote. It's not great. And then you have to be okay with whatever comes back at you because you know it's coming from a place of let's make the best music possible. And it takes a long time to develop that trust, for sure.
Yeah, I think so this is my sort of compliment to you, because there's something that happens when you listen to certain certain riffs that really make you like do the face, or like certain, or just watching musicians that just have real talent. It doesn't have to be like the Gurn face, but when something you watch something or you listen to something and you kind of want to just like laugh because it's just just like, whoa, what? Like, do you get that feeling when it's
of course.
It's not funny. It's like you're there like, what the, like, Jesus. I was watching one of your playthroughs, and I had those moments where you're just gonna go like You know, like one of them. So that's my I last got that with listening to Alluvial. That was the last one where
Oh
I was
yeah,
just like, oh, what the fuck, that's too
yeah,
good. Like,
yeah. Wes
uh,
Hauk is great, man. He's a great
he's
guitar player.
ridiculously good. He's
Yeah.
well up there in my list of players. But speaking of, have you I'm going to assume you've seen this, but it'd be cool if you haven't. Have you seen on YouTube Relentless Doppelganger?
So that is the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was huge for us because I've met those guys a few
really?
times now. Yeah. It was on Wired magazine. So I'll just explain it for anybody who's listening who doesn't know. So it's basically the two. I think they're MIT. I don't know. They're two research AI researchers that took a bunch of different bands and they tried to make a continuously artificially generated like I guess procedurally generated death metal band or whatever. So they took Dillinger Escape Plan, they took Meshuggah, they took a bunch of other bands. And some of them were kind of successful, but most of them would just crash. And so they couldn't find a band to really keep it going where it was like an infinite sort of just stream of AI consciousness. But then they tried our band. And it kept going. I think it's been going for 2 years, 3 years maybe. No, longer than that. Yeah, probably 3 years at least. You can still watch it on YouTube now, and it sounds insane. It's basically they took our album Relentless Mutation, came out in 2017, and it's just the AI is spitting out what it thinks death metal is by using clips of our existing songs. So I'll listen to it and I'll hear a guitar riff that I wrote that's like, a millisecond of that plus a vocal thing that I sort of recognize plus a sound effect. And it'll go through these really crazy streams of just insane noise, and then a pause and a stop, and then it'll come back and it'll be a drum solo, but the drum solo will be like almost like the drums sound like they're backwards. Like it's really interesting to watch or to listen to. And it was really cool to talk to them too because they're metal fans and they want to and they just want to create something unique. And I thought it was really, really interesting. I want them to try that with our newest album as well. So what I want to do is send them all of the stems or all of the individual recording tracks and get them to put that into their AI or do a custom AI or whatever it is, and then see what happens with our new material because it might just produce something more interesting. I don't know.
You may well just be sort of selling yourself into financial failure, though, because as soon as they know how to, like, what, every now and again you just listen, like, oh, I'm taking that riff, like rewind, I want that.
Well, I don't know. Do you think that AI, if you gave AI all the rules of what makes good music, and you told it to make a song in a certain genre, you think that you think it's possible for AI to do it?
I don't think right now. I think
sure.
I think it will happen. I think it's like. Yeah, it's weird. It's a bit of a scary question because I think there's a level. I think the only way we could possibly beat AI in the future, because I think it's inevitable we could get to the point where they could give it like the last 50 years of pop songs, not just pop, but like popular songs in any genre, and probably come out with a song that's better. But I think the way to beat that is to have a real story behind it and a real meaning behind it. Like, the lyrics having some purpose there, having some kind of idea that needs to be attached to a person. I think that's when you perhaps will. I think like styles and things, but being actually sort of quite steadfast in your style of playing, for example, and improving that. I think that's the way it's going to have to feel like it's personal to you. But you never know. Like they might just be able to take all of that from one guy and just be like, okay, well, AI, we're going to do this better now. So
I think
that would be my best guess.
I think it depends on what style of music you're playing, because if you're playing something that does have like lyrical music, I think that people relate to the artist because there's no such thing as objectively good music. So when I say good, I just mean like it follows all the rules of not all the rules, but all the like the descriptive ways that theory can use to describe why Bach made such amazing music, or why Mozart made such amazing music, or why Queen, or why I don't know, like Katy Perry, or like there's reasons why. It's not the same reasons all the time. There's different styles of music, and they have different forms and different functioning types of chords, and some style, some jazz doesn't follow the same quote unquote rules as classical or whatever, but there's like a fundamental like rule of why, you know, a certain interval draws the listener's ear a different way. So it draws your ear a certain way. So that's a rule that you could use. But it also is so much informed by what music is popular and what music you heard when you were super young. So taking all of that into consideration, I think that you could make really amazing music. Now, it depends on whether or not it's something that people can relate to, because when you think about, oh man, that song is great. Why is it great? Follows all the potential rules or whatever. But you could also be thinking, well, I like the artist because they A, look a certain way, B, they had a certain type of upbringing, or maybe they just hit you at a certain point of your life and it's all nostalgia. Like there's so many reasons why you would like a song. So yeah, it really depends on the style of music. To make concert music, like classical music, AI could do that. Maybe not right now, but it could definitely, like for me, yes, absolutely, because it's a large amount of different musicians and they're all playing together this piece that maybe you don't have as much of a connection to the composer as you would a singer-songwriter or something like that. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more to it than that. But you know what's for sure is that we're definitely going to find out.
That's the scary for sure bit. Yeah, I don't know what to think of it, because I kind of think, all things being well and human beings being good, which is rather a big assumption, that AI should be really good, like beneficial to us. But it's I've chatted to a couple of people about it, and it's like it should be great, but like will it just be a reflection of all the bad stuff? It's hard to tell. I kind of but going back on what you said, the about connecting to the artist, it's a bit like actually enjoying not the imperfection, because that's not what you feel when you listen to a song you like, but it's the idiosyncrasies, and it's the things that, yes, AI could copy, but it could only copy once they've heard you do it. You know, and maybe it'll get to the point where it can start generating them. I don't know. It depends. How smart.
Yeah, I mean, like there's certain musicians that people listen to because they're flawed. So people love Kurt Cobain, because he was this person that you can, or Elliott Smith, or you know, like there's certain reasons why you would love them. It's like, yeah, I mean, they were struggling and they were in pain and stuff, and you obviously can't replicate that in like a real way. You can like replicate the idea and you can come up with a story, but that being said, though, I guess AI created music doesn't necessarily have to be open that it's AI. It could be, you know, you combine, let's say 30 years from now, 40 years from now, there's deep fake technology mixed with artificially created music mixed with.
I could pretend I'm going on tour then.
Yeah. But you mix all that stuff together and all of a sudden you create a character that people think is real, and it passes the Turing test or whatever it is. And it's this I mean, you could do that. You could imagine that right now. I mean, with Deadmau5 or like an artist like Banksy or something like that, where it's like there's no face really to it. It's just, I mean, with Deadmau5 there is, but I mean, it's not like
a human face,
not a person on a stage that's, you know, that you know for sure. Oh, that's always the same person. Like the band Ghost has like revolving members. You know, there's like a certain sort of like facade that you can put up, and maybe that's the future of it, is just AI music, and artists are potentially very profitable if you link them together with a storyline and a character that you create that you can sort of hire somebody cheaply to represent on stage, or maybe it's a hologram or something like that. And maybe music in the future is just going to be all AI and we won't even know.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's scary, because I wouldn't want to dismiss the idea that it could be beneficial.
Sure.
But I think the thing that's scary about it is the idea of making people redundant, and I don't mean literally jobless. I mean making their roles in society redundant. That's the bit that I find scary, and taking away the humanity behind a lot of things. I think that's the scary bit for me. Like, there's loads of AI that's literally made people jobless, but it's benefiting society on a larger scale by sort of taking away jobs that ultimately a lot of people don't want to have to do, you know. But then in music, it's so inherently tied to personality that I think there's a risk there of losing something, maybe. But maybe I'm just not smart enough for that. But I'm gonna do one of my neat segues and point out that I'm doing it, which is what I do every time.
Great.
You talk about something I've noticed just in your kind of just in your videos and just in your personality is that kind of a sense of humor, which and I've brought that up in about the driest way I could have done, which is great. But
you also set it up where I supposed to make a joke there? I'm fucked now, all right? I'm fucked.
That counts. Yeah, the irony is that was kind of funny, so there you go. But I think the thing that I find that I always like about that is that like it I think sometimes there's, particularly with it, maybe it's just I'm just saying particularly metal bands because I sort of see a lot of metal bands, but there's a lot of people taking themselves very seriously, and I don't necessarily mean that's a terrible thing, but I think like having some real personality, there's two things. A, it allows you to be yourself, like to people, to the wider world, and I'd hate the idea of having to be someone else, even just personality wise, not just on stage, but like to my sort of audience. But B, it also it kind of brings some kind of personality, even from like I know it sounds a bit sterile and boring, but from like a branding front, it's like there's a personality there. There's something to kind of is humor something you're like conscious of kind of delivering in how, or is it just who you are? I'm getting the vibe it's just who you are. That's not implying that you're not good at what you do. It's just implying that it feels quite natural.
I think that you I think that you can get really, like, we put all of our serious time towards coming up with really good music that we think is good. So we think, okay, this music's good. We're going to put all of our serious thought time into that. And then everything else that I do, I'm like, okay, well, the serious time is done. And so I'll just be a fucking idiot now, because the rest of it is like, you know, I don't know. There's so many bands that come out, and no disrespect to anybody that does this, but there's so many serious bands. Yeah. It's like, do you need another one? Do you need another serious band? We're playing such ridiculous music as it is. So why would we be like, you know, super serious, like, you know, this next song? It's like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean? Like, personally. And there's some bands that it works really well for, and there's some bands that are just finding kind of what they should be like on stage or off stage, or to, you know, but and for some bands it's just, that's the genre. Black metal, you know, it should be mostly like this serious sort of thing, even though, I mean, it's so goofy what they're doing, putting on, you know, corpse paint or whatever. Like, I think the dude that really nailed it is Abbott, you know. Okay. Fucking, he like is like this goofy dude that looks all tough, but he's goofy as fuck. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, well, that's fun. Or like,
you know, Party Cannon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I don't really. I'm not super familiar, but I know the logo anyway.
Yeah. You look at these like lineups, and then you just see like balloon writing. Like,
yeah.
It's amazing.
That stuff is fun. I mean, like, we like to think about, this is like a switch in the last 4 or 5 years of our band, is we like to think about our band coming to your town to play a show as like a party. It's like, okay, we're gonna make the coolest party. Let's make this whole thing a party. So if it's around Christmas time, that's a Christmas party. Let's have fun. Let's have a fun time. You know, let's make dumb shit on stage. Let's say dumb shit. Like, let's hang out with people before and after the show, and not be like super serious about everything. Like on this previous tour, halfway through, or actually quite a bit earlier, somebody found like really funny looking swim shorts at Walmart, and we're like, okay, well, let's wear those on stage. And then I was like, okay, I'll wear some swim shorts on stage for a night because it's gonna be so hot or whatever. And then we wear them the next night, and then the next night, and then we're like, we're just wearing them every single night. Every single night. What's that?
Is this us now?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, yeah, and like our vocalists just started wearing weirder and weirder shit as the tour went on. And it's like, this is the kind of fun that we want. Like, we don't want to go on stage and be like, all black, tough guy. Here's, you know, this is us. This is, you know, because it's not us, right? And halfway through the tour, we played a show, and every show of the tour was awesome. Every single one was awesome. But there was a show that was considered the worst show of the tour, and that's just because it was the least attended or whatever it was. You know, still a fun time. Everybody that came out was like so amazing. But yeah, we just had one show. It's inevitable because not every show can be the best show of your band's career, obviously. So he decided to bust out this this bit that he had where it's called Bird Facts. So Bird Facts on stage. So he, as a band, we made car fresheners, like air fresheners. They say Stay Tech, and they're just like, you know, they smell really bad actually. So sorry to anybody to bother them, but they're just like, it says Archspire and it's a car freshener on the inside. It says Stay Tech. So he had a whole bunch of them in a binder and on stage, and on the binder he wrote important business documents, but it's all spelled wrong, like he's a fucking idiot. And he opens it up and it's like all this loose leaf paper, and in it he printed out pictures of birds, and he selected one bird for that show, and it was the yellow warbler. And so he like, we played 2 songs, and then he's like, okay, bird facts, I'm gonna give a free air freshener to those who know what the mating cycle of a yellow warbler is.
Sounding very Monty Python.
I mean, so and he didn't say what band we were. He didn't say thank you for coming to the show. He didn't mention who anybody else on the tour package was. All he did was say bird facts, and it fucking did really well as a bit. Like, people in the audience really liked it, and that's the kind of stuff that I like. It's like, well, that's funny because you can watch us on stage all like dying laughing because it's, let's say he says a joke and no one laughs. I mean, that makes me laugh so much harder. Like, if he says a joke and it fucking bombs, just absolute crickets, it's like, that's my thing, you know? So that kind of stuff is really fun. And so we'll follow that up with 350 BPM extreme technical death metal. And then the song will be over, and then he's like, how many eggs does a yellow warbler lay? I mean, it's like so the opposite ends of the spectrum that I think that the juxtaposition of those two things, I think people find
Depends how seriously
captivating.
you take your bird facts.
Well, we all learned a lot. I think 2 to 3 eggs is the answer to that question. So, I mean, I love birds. We all love birds. Toby doesn't like birds with long legs, but I don't know why. So in Australia, he was in pain. He just hated every second. He's like, oh my God, birds with big long legs freak me out. I'm like, well, there's a lot of them here. So, but just shit like that, you stop trying to be, after 12, 13 years in a band, you stop trying to be like tough guy, prove it to everybody that you can play. It's like, no, we could play. Now we're going to make it a fun time. And that's what we've been trying to push a lot.
Yeah, I saw I was at Bloodstock Festival in the UK last summer. I saw Devin Townsend, he headlined, and like,
perfect example.
Yeah, I know, like I know a few of his songs, not like that many. I love what he does, but I'm not like a diehard fan. But the live show is like one of the most fun shows. He said something about blowing Willie Nelson, and I don't quite know what. I can't remember the joke. I wanted to tell it just now, and I was trying to think what it was. But the punchline was something to do with blowing Willie Nelson. You can try and come up with the. If you're feeling creative.
He's one of the artists that it does it so well. Because I've been to the North American Music Merchants and the NAMM show in LA a bunch of times, and every time he plays, he goes up there with one guitar, no backing tracks. Nothing. He goes up there with no one else at the. I think he does it usually at the Fishman stage, maybe at the. What kind of guitar does he play? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Quite unique, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so he'll do that at the Fishman stage anyway. The pickup Fishman stage, and he'll ask for requests of the audience. So the audience will say, "Play this song," and while he's playing a song, he'll be like, "Nope, wrong tuning." Another song. Somebody says another song. Okay, cool. That's in a different key, but I'm going to change it, and then he'll sing it. Playing it just guitar by himself, and then he'll make a joke, and then he'll talk about how he doesn't want to end up like his dad working in a sheet metal factory, and then he'll sing crazy high notes, and they sound awesome, and then he'll fuck something up and be like, whoops, I fucked it up, whatever, and then make a joke about that. He'll point out somebody in the audience, make fun of them. Like, dude, it's like that dude has an unreal amount of charisma and fun on stage, and he just like, I think he just is, he's up there, and he just goes for it. He's like, I am in my element here. I know that he's like, I don't know him too well, but because he lives in Vancouver as well. And, I met him a few times, talked to him a little bit. He seems very quiet and introverted when he's not on stage. And then when he's on stage, it's just a totally different thing. And he can just keep a room's attention for 2 hours. And it's like that with funny shit, and without a sense of desperation, without a sense of fear, or without a sense of, like technical difficulties won't face him. He'll come up with jokes on the fly and fill 10 minutes of technical difficulties, no problem. It's like, what? How do you do that? It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of something floating around my head. So it's
a bunch of dead bodies around you. That's why you have the background blurred.
Yeah, I just blurred a blur for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you missed.
The cops are on their way. So.
Yeah, this would be one of those things. Those streams where you see the ram raid come through the front door. Yeah, you don't know what's on that side of the room.
Yeah.
No, I had a thing, and it was a profound point.
I doubt that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm sure. You're
allowed to doubt it. Judging from the 44 minutes of talking to me, you're allowed to believe that. Yes. So, what was it? Yes. So charisma. A lot of people, I think, I always hesitate to call. When some people call other people boring, and I always hesitate to say that about someone, even if I kind of think it's true, because I feel like I think everyone has a natural charisma to them. That is, if you get them in the right sort of, if you talk to them about the right thing, or if you know them in the right way, or if they've had the chance to sort of grow as a person enough. I think anyone in the right situation can be really charismatic, but I think it's a bit sad that nowadays a lot of people are afraid of being themselves. And I think perhaps that's why you get quite a lot of like serious people on stage. Not all the time. Sometimes it is just genuinely the best thing for the band, but I think a lot of people are quite afraid of being themselves. Like for example, when I started playing live, I was never like totally still, but I was always quite like rigid and and I'm a bit more loose now. But the last thing I wanted to do was fake it and like jump around on stage, but know deep in my heart that I hate the fact I'm doing that right now. And you can always tell, I find, like if you're watching a band, you can always tell if they don't believe what they're doing, whether it be like spinning around or whether it be like, even if they're standing still, but actually they want to be all over the place. It's and I kind of try to avoid that where I can. So now I feel more comfortable, but I'm glad I never kind of faked that. I'm glad I just stayed doing what I do.
Right.
But it's
it is tough to always believe in the thing you're doing on stage after doing hundreds and hundreds of shows. Some nights you're just not going to believe it. Some nights you're just going to be like, this, I'm just not here right now, especially when you do 30 dates in a row or whatever. You're just not. It's not always possible, but you're right. You have to most of the time kind of believe in what you're doing, or at least enjoy being there and being yourself on stage. I think that some people, you're right. Probably most people have a certain charisma that's deep in or whatever. I think that there's obviously varying levels. Somebody like Devin Townsend is in his element, very, very high charisma and captivating. Somebody like Odorous Urungus from Guar, very, very captivating. Someone like Trevor Strnad from Black Dahlia Murder, very captivating on stage. Very like you're just watching this person. It's a lot like a Chris Farley or something like that, where they're just like, they just have so much of this thing that you just can't take your eyes off of because it's just something. I don't know. But when it comes to one-on-one, I think there's an element of, like you said, growing as a person. You need to sort of understand what the other person is. You need to be good at reading people and understanding when social cues are being given, even if they're really slight. And it's a lot of it is subconscious. And you have to just try and put yourself in that person's shoes. It actually comes a lot down to, I compare this to writing as well. If you have, so let's say you're in your own head about this guitar riff that you wrote or whatever.
Yeah,
you think it sounds great. What's that?
I said, yeah, let's say that doesn't happen.
Yeah, let's say, let's, for example, I don't know. And you think it sounds great and you play it for somebody else and you watch their expression and you watch their reaction to it. And it's like, that's the person that you're trying to sell this idea to. At least if you're in a band like we are, where we want to appeal to a large amount of people, but still stay true to the stuff that we love, which is a hard balance to walk, especially when you're playing extreme death metal. But we oftentimes have people come into our rehearsal space and we play music for them. And we take what they say, especially if they're not musicians, we take what they say very seriously. they go, you know what, you should repeat that part, or yeah, that part's pretty cool, or oh man, I love that one ending thing was really cool. And it's almost always something you didn't even think about. It's almost always like a part that you're like, oh, that was just garbage that we put in there and it took 1 minute. It's weird how that happens. And that person is almost always right, especially if you have like some sort of, they're buddies of yours or whatever. They're not looking at it like how hard is it to play. They're not looking at it like, what mode or what scale or what chord progression you're playing, or, how fast you were picking. They're thinking like, did I enjoy it? And like enjoying it is like the thing that we're trying to make a product that people enjoy. And so reading people and trying to understand, where their headspace is, when you're being, like I said earlier, when you're being vulnerable with an artistic expression or artistic idea or whatever that you have, learning how to do that is really important. And yeah, it has nothing to do with the thing you were talking about earlier, but I feel like it makes sense.
This is the best kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have found a lot of the people I've talked to, my sense from them, and all the people I've talked to on the podcast have, to varying degrees, found some level of success in the music industry. But they all share an understanding of either themselves, other people, or both to some degree.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think you've got to have like a bit of both of those things. But sometimes you can have more of the other. But like, I think it's a lot. I feel like the people I spoke to, Mike from Monuments, Mike Mallion from Monuments, and he seemed to have a really good understanding of where his head was at in terms of like what works for him and why he enjoys what he does. And I think that's possibly quite an important part to being successful.
Yeah.
And I was watching one of your video. You talked about like sort of imposter syndrome, not in the most literal sense, but kind of your experience of it, or like how you interpret that. And I guess my question in kind of simple terms is like, how did you kind of get past that? And what's
past it?
That? Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
shit.
Okay, there you go. Question answered. Don't.
No. I think it's really up to the person, because some people, they never get past it and it even gets worse, but they just push through. And that's a tough struggle to be in, because that means every single moment of the thing that you're doing that you love is a struggle with the voices in your head of people saying, don't do it, stop doing it, you suck, you're doing it poorly, you're doing it wrong. And that's really rough. I have that
shows.
I have that to a degree for sure. I don't have that live as much anymore. Now I'm like, it's always been my mentality is that when you release music, it's no longer yours. So you put out an album and it belongs to whoever's listening to it now. It's not your music anymore. You're only playing the music that was written, and you're playing it with whoever is listening to it. They've taken what you've written and they're hearing it on an entirely different playing field. Like they hear all the nuances that you don't notice. They hear all those. They don't hear any of the nuances that you think are really cool. They don't give a shit about the notes that you put in 10 hours to figure out, that series of 10 notes at the end. You racked your brain for multiple days to try and figure out. They don't give a shit about that. They give a shit about the slide that you did in that you thought was just kind of a throwaway idea. Like those are the things. And so for that reason, when you release music and people listen to it, in a lot of ways, you can't be self-conscious about it, because it doesn't belong to you anymore. Now it belongs to the interpretation, how the listeners interpreted that music for them, or that art piece or painting or story or whatever. So that's helped me a lot on stage when I'm like, this riff kind of sucks or whatever. This riff that we wrote 10 years ago kind of sucks. I was like, it only sucks for the one person in the room, me. I have no idea what anybody else thinks about it. And for all I know, no one is even watching me for this one part. Maybe nobody even gives a shit about this part. It's the drums for this section. And this riff is just a side, some accompaniment for this awesome bass fill or this really cool vocal moment or whatever. And that's helped me a lot because you can't get caught up with with all that stuff every single night or every time you play something. But that being said, the reason why we write all together is because it creates all these filters. We have 5 filters now of filtering out all these bad ideas. So you do get rid of all the ideas that would bum you out on stage a year later. You're like, man, I really shouldn't have put this in here. It's like, no, everybody else that plays in the band, they play differently. They hear different nuances than you. They are the audience member, essentially, in a lot of ways. It went through their filters. So if they didn't think it was just shit and you don't think it's shit, then it maximizes your chances of it reaching a wide audience and being enjoyable for people to listen to. So yeah, writing music like that is, like I said, it's tough to find all those people to do it. And it's like striking lightning. You know, it's like you cannot find 5 people that have all the same mentality to do the same thing for that long. Like, it's really hard. But when you do find that, I think that you have a lot of potential for creating music that people are going to like, just because there's more safeguards in place for it to put out music that's enjoyable for people. But.
Yeah, I kind of have a sort of a theory about musicians. I don't know how widely it applies. I think you'd see it in the metal scene. I think you see it in any scene perhaps where the music is more technically challenging than so you might not see it in, like, say, folk music as much as, I don't know, metal or classical or jazz or something. But it's the idea that obviously a lot of people, I've had it, and I know, like, most of my musician friends have it or had it, is this kind of, not imposter syndrome, but this idea of, oh, that's not quite good enough, you know.
Right.
And, you know, I have this sort of conundrum where I'm writing a riff or something, and then in my head I'm like, there's that never good enough thing when you're writing a riff. But then obviously, if you take that too far, you can end up with kind of almost like nonsense that no one wants to listen to, because you can go into all these minutiae and then you get all wound up in it. And obviously you need to be able to kind of connect with people with your writing. So I always find it quite difficult, and I find that I think because there's that sense of, it's particularly with the more technical music, there's that sense of like, oh, it's not always good enough. You end up writing like quite technical things that actually sometimes don't appeal in the way you want them to. And I've had that when I'm writing riffs. You know, I write a guitar riff and I'm like, it's really technical and I'm happy, but I don't actually know if I'm making the other people happy. And how do you balance that where you're writing, because obviously you write extremely technical stuff. How do you balance that where you're like satisfying your own, I'm happy with this, but still appealing to the audience?
It really, if you break down some of our songs, they're really not that technical. They're just really fast.
I equate the two because I'm shit.
No. I mean, our thing is stay tech, right? So it's like stay technical.
Yeah.
But if you break down, like I recently broke down one of our songs. It has 5 riffs in it. It's like that. They're fast riffs. They're hard to play. If you're, you know, I mean, they're hard to play. I mean, they just objectively, yeah, it takes skill to play it, or, you know, practice or whatever. There's only 5 riffs in the song. So there's an intro, and then there's like a verse riff that's just basically the intro riff, but simplified. And there's like a pre-verse kind of thing. And then there's an interlude, or like a middle section that's only played once. And then there's a solo riff, and that's it. It's like, that's it. You know, it's like, so I think the big thing is the melody is more important than the technicality of it. And it is easy to write really technical music if you are a proficient player, or if you have access to software that you can do that with. It's very easy to write technical music. It's not easy to write memorable music. And it's really hard to combine both of those. If you want to write technical music, oftentimes it alienates people that want to just hear the riff, and they want to just hear this awesome. I mean, Meshuggah does a really good balance of it. They have a constant meter of something, and then they have really technical riffs, but it simplifies it. So having like a band like ours, where you're trying to balance this technicality and the musicianship, you put on almost, and I hate to undercut our band's brand, but you put on a facade almost that it's really technical, because a lot of the time it's not actually that technical. If you think about in terms of time signatures, tempo changes, fast playing, yes, it is always fast. Well, that's not actually not true. It's almost always fast. But when we duck down into interludes that are clean guitar or whatever, that stuff is almost always very simple, and the velocity is cut down by quite a bit, and it's something to sort of allow the listener to regain their foothold in the song. Because if you give them all highest velocity, top velocity stuff, then generally no one's going to want to listen to it, and it's going to be very tiring. If you give them as much as they could possibly handle of the craziness with some melody put in, and then you give them reprieve, then we think that's the key to selling technical music. Because obviously there is still an element of technical proficiency in our playing and our musicianship, but we're not doing it in like every bar alternates 7/8, 9/8, polyrhythms. Don't do a lot of stuff like that. We don't do a lot of insane wacky arrangements. We don't do a lot of insane a section where it's riff, which is tough to avoid, but that riff is not, it's not great for connecting to someone, because they want to feel that, I don't know, that melody or that hook or that catchiness or something. And yeah, it's a tough road to go down. And like I said, we're not getting better at it. We're getting worse at it. It takes so long for us to write music, and we write really short albums. Our longest album was 34 minutes. Our shortest one was 32. And we've only had 4, and we've been a band for 13 years. And I feel like that's pretty that's pretty minimal. I mean, we're basically we're a full-time band, and we're living off of around 2 hours of music, which is like pretty weird when you think about it like that.
Though.
It's like, great. Yeah, it's great.
I was giving a sports analogy, like goals per minute or something.
Right, yeah, or like a comedian, like jokes per minute or something.
Yeah. Pick your analogy.
Yeah. It has to be like get in, get out. Get in, give people what you have, what you're planning on giving them and what you think that they're going to enjoy, and get out as quickly as possible so that they listen to the album again. And then they go, where are you going to write more music? And that's when you've hooked somebody as a fan. And we do that same thing with live performances. We get in, we get out. We play about 50 minutes. We play a shorter set. We do not give you an hour and 20. It's like 50 minutes. It's like, here's the fastest stuff we can play, and then we're out. And, try to keep the breaks between songs quick. And it's a balance, because you don't want to piss people off and not have people, you don't have people be like, man, I really didn't get my money's worth. But when you're playing, double the amount of snare hits or something like that than a regular band might, then I feel like people get the value out of that. But it's all perception.
Well, there's kind of diminishing returns in time time on stage with any band. It's like I saw Guns N' Roses play headline Download Festival over here, and like I really liked it because I felt like I was witnessing something that maybe isn't going to be around forever. And Axl Rose's voice was barely around, but like it was a good show, but it was really long. I think it was like not far off 3 hours. Like and I was like, I got to see Sweet Child of Mine, and I got to see like all the famous songs. But I think like even the bands I really, really love, if they're on for more than a certain amount of time, I kind of just get a bit like, I mean, like, that feeling in the back of your neck where it's like, it stood like that the whole time, trying to, and I feel like there is a point actually where you could be like better than my favorite band, and it'd still be just a bit like, okay, I've been a part of this now, and I've kind of it's definitely difficult because obviously you want to feel like you're giving people their money's worth.
Exactly. I mean, if you're a legacy band like Guns N' Roses, or if you're AC/DC or Kiss or something like that, you have to give people their money's worth. You have to play those long sets. Like, you just have to. Like, there's no way around it. If Guns N' Roses played for 2 hours, people would be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? If they play for an hour and a half, they'd be like, fucking, I want my refund. We need all the spectacle, you know? But that being said, you're right. Like, does it create new fans? Do they care about creating new fans? Probably not. You know, they don't really care about that. They're a band that's that big for a reason, and they're at the height, or they've already reached the heights that they'll ever get to, and it's like they're just now, you know, doing the nostalgia tour. It's like, you remember when you used to love these songs when you first heard them or whatever? It's like, you know, and so yeah, it's not a place that I think we'll ever get to. You know, we're just a death metal band. The biggest band that you can hope to become the size of in death metal is Cannibal Corpse. They're the biggest death metal band that you could ever hope to match, and you won't ever match their output or their like legendary status, I don't think. But, you know, in terms of size of shows, album sales, all that kind of stuff, they are the biggest that you could ever hope to be. And we play a much, much more extreme version of that music. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to be happy to do this for, you know, 500 people a night. It's like, hey, that's nice. That's a nice time. You know what I mean? It's great. It's a great, you know, or play festivals or whatever, but, you know, we're not going to be playing 3-hour sets anytime soon.
Well, that's a bit exhausting.
I don't think there's just no way. There's no way we could do it. Like, there's just no way. Like, it's just not. You know, it's not, especially on tour. There's just no way you could keep that up. You would die. Especially like our drummer and, you know, everybody in the band is going full tilt all the time. You know, by the last song, my hands are like, holy fuck! I'm like ready to not be playing anymore. And we play just about an hour. Like, tripling that would be like, you know, you wouldn't get your money's worth. We would sound like shit by the end of it.
Just that tempo's dropping a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you on a sort of more comedic note, have you seen the Cannibal Corpse spoken word? The heavy metal spoken word. Have you not?
No, that's funny.
Oh, it's the funniest thing. It's a guy who sits there and like he does YouTube videos of it. I'll send you one where there's the guy sits there on like a sort of, I think he's a British guy, so I think it has that much more like bravado because he's sat there with his or maybe he's American. I can't remember. Either way, he's got like a very sort of upper class kind of voice, and he sits there reading Cannibal Corpse lyrics, and he just puts the emphasis in all the right/wrong places.
Oh, nice! I like that.
That's cool. It's so fun. I mean, once you've seen one, you kind of seen them all. Like,
sure.
You know, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, cool. So what I'll do is I'll get you to. I'm going to put you on the spot. Try and get you to think of a question or a statement. I haven't had a statement yet. Or a question, you know, a question is something for the next guest. I'm not going to tell you who they are, so that it doesn't influence your decision making.
Okay, what is so you interviewing mostly musicians?
Yeah, any all musicians. Yeah, musicians, producers, like anyone that's kind of it's all music industry at least. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question for the next touring musician, so I hope that applies. Maybe I'll come up with 2 questions.
Let me have a quick look. I can tell you in a split second. Hang on.
Sure.
Hang on. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
What is the most? Sorry, I'll say it again. What is the most pathetic meal that you've ever eaten on tour? The most, like, you eat it and you're like, man, this sucks so much.
My mind's immediately gone to one meal, which was I think it was chicken, but I don't actually. It was just undefined white meat.
Right.
Like, if you took a chicken breast and cooked it to as little as you could say it was cooked. Like, and I don't mean in the sense that, like, okay, took it as, because if you cooked it to, in theory, cooking it as little as possible is like nice and, no, it's not nice and tender. That's the beef.
I mean, anyway, yeah, it really depends. Yeah.
Imagine you microwave a chicken breast.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, it kind of looks a bit like that. Like, it was cooked, and it had like a burger, but no butter. So it was just like.
So this isn't a meal that you made yourself. This is a meal that you got somewhere. No. Okay, good. Okay.
There's no way. I think I've got a photo of it somewhere, and it's like it's so.
Delete that photo, please.
Yeah, it's giving me salmonella.
Yeah, I think there's been some pretty bad meals, but I remember there was one that we ate at a place called Sherry's in the States somewhere. I think it was in Washington State or something on tour. Or Shoney's, maybe it was Shoney's. I don't even know, but it was at like 2 a.m. or something, and I wanted. Actually, it was a breakfast thing. Yeah, I wanted.
Oh, that's
breakfast.
even sadder because it's to get you going.
I wanted breakfast, right? And they gave us sausages, and I remember it was very clear what they had done. They had burnt to a crisp 2 sausages, and 2 sausages were relatively cooked. And instead of giving one person 2 burnt sausages, they split the burnt sausages between me and somebody else. So I had one burnt one and one relatively cooked one. And I remember being so fucking bummed out about that. Like I can see the mentality of like this 18-year-old that's working in the kitchen or whatever. It's like, oh my God. And I mean, obviously the rest of the meal was equally terrible. Like just the watery, most gross eggs, like, burnt to a crisp toast. Like, everything was terrible, but those sausages made me feel so bummed out.
Like, I can trade you a, this is such a well tied up story because we started talking about babies earlier and this ties in and food it all ties in. So I used to work.
Are you eating a baby in this story or what's going on?
I'm not in a death
you
metal
have
band,
to tell
so
me
I don't do
legally. You
I
have
don't
to
do
tell
any
me.
of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to work at a restaurant, like a bar restaurant place, and there was a woman there who was pregnant, and her water broke in the restaurant. So obviously, there was a bit of the staff were a bit like, okay, what do we like? We don't really know what to do here. Obviously, they called an ambulance, and they weren't that clueless. But then she left, and obviously, I assume gave birth. I would assume.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
I hope that's what happened. But then she gave us, I think, like 6 out of 10 on TripAdvisor. And I was kind of like, is that not a polarizing experience? Like, surely that's a 0 or that's a 10 out of 10. And then the other thing was the other people, the other guests, they finished their meals and they said, so do we get this for free? Like, what? We didn't give birth. You did. Like, why would you get this for free?
The worst reviews truly are the 6 out of 10s. For everything. That is because you're right. It's the least polar. They don't feel any which way about what just happened, which is crazy to watch the miracle of human life be created, and then be like, the food was fine, the experience was fine,
delivery all right.
Delivery was fine.
Offsite delivery room.
That's pretty funny. Anytime we get an album review, we always go like, okay, if it's a 1 out of 10, amazing. If it's a 10 out of 10, that's cool, but the 1 out of 10 is better because the more haters you get, the better. Like, fuck this band, they suck, all this stuff. But the worst reviews, you can get a 5 or a 6, where they're just like, that's fine. It's like, oh no.
I feel like I just found it very odd that was a polarizing, not a polarizing experience. But I think when you get a 1 out of 10, you can. There's 2 things. 1 out of 10, you can find it funny, but also you can then disagree with them strongly. So that's also good because you can think, oh, they're probably wrong. Whereas if it's 5 out of 10, you're like, oh, they sort of see it, but they just like,
that's a rough one.
1 out of 10 is like, no, they didn't like it, but they didn't hear that bit.
Yeah,
they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
So, lastly, if you could recommend a band, it doesn't have to be necessarily an underground band, but a band that you want to give a bit of recognition to for whatever reason.
There's a band that I really like called Wormhole. They're from Eastern U.S. I think they're from Baltimore area or something like that. They're great. They just signed to Season of Mist Records. They're guys we've toured with, and they're just great players, write great music. And I think they probably have some new music coming out soon. So I highly suggest checking out Wormhole if you like brutal, slamming, technical death metal.
Awesome. The good thing is I've not yet had a repeated band suggestion.
Sure.
Which is a good thing, I think.
That's good.
Although maybe it's really bad for all the bands. I don't know. maybe it's like, oh, I like them. No one else does.
Yeah, nobody else does. Yeah.
I guess that's the point. Is trying to get them help.
Sure.
Help. So yeah. Spreading positivity. Well, thank you very much. And if you have any last things you want to plug or share with the world, then take your chance.
We're doing a South America tour July and September. I think July and September, 2-part South American tour. I have new videos coming on my channel all the time. I'm editing as we speak. We have a new album out relatively new, called Bleed the Future. It's out on Season Mist Records. Came out October of last year, so it's actually not too new anymore, but it's our most recent album. And yeah, we just won a Canadian Juno Award for that album, which is basically the Canadian Grammys. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.